faith, and the journey that this podcast has really helped. I'll speak for Gabe, and well, I'll speak for myself and for Gabe about how the podcast has really opened us up on this faith journey. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Alongside me is Gabe Yanez, as well as Mr. Matt MDV. Next week or the week after, we're actually having Mr. Matt Chan on the show, which is CrossFit legend. And we'll have some others coming on periodically. So, this is a really, really cool subject. I'm very excited to talk about it. It's been something that's been, more front and center on my social a little bit lately, but faith has been a major component that I've started to incorporate more and more and more. And I'll share just a little bit and then definitely kick it over to you, Gabe. I would say, so the way that my background, I have a video that's coming up on social media that's coming up recently where I grew up private Catholic school my whole life. I went there through elementary school, through high school, and I felt like it was, say this, do this, sit down, stand up. And it was very much so like going through the motions in church. And looking back on it, I don't know if that led me to where I'm at today, but what I do know is that as a young child in church, there was no connection or relationship to God, to Jesus. It was just a thing that we did as part of going to school. It was just, that's what it was. Fast forward, I kind of, went away from the church, didn't really spend much time thinking about it. And then as life gets chaotic, I started thinking about it a little bit more, especially when my daughter got sick, then kind of fell off the path. Then through the podcast, started having a lot of great conversations and listening to other people talk about their relationship with God, with Jesus, and how that has impacted their life. And it started to kind of open my eyes more and make me want to explore more. Fast forward to where I'm at today, I'd say for the past year, every day I've been reading the Bible every single day for as long as I can remember now, for at least a year. I will start the day off praying out loud. We got that from Sal DiStefano, right? Gabe was the first one to talk to us about praying out loud. Yeah. And that's been incredibly, incredibly valuable in my life to express my gratitude. And I will do that every single morning. And that's where I'm at today. I'm continuing to build a relationship, and it's been highly impactful on me. But let's dive into this, Gabe, because you're the one, you and I were talking about this recently. You've been going to church. I've also been going to a local Christian church a few times, but it's not something I do on a regular basis. But yeah, I have more to share on that, but let's start there, Gabe. Where are you at?
Yeah, man, it's been a journey. And I think the interesting thing to kind of acknowledge off the bat is calling a duck, that there's still something that isn't like super comfortable about even talking about this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like it feels, I don't know if it's vulnerable to share, or maybe I was thinking about this before recording, or if there's just like still this story that we tell ourselves of like, what it means to like, start to lean into religion, and like maybe some of the things you told yourself in the past, and the fear of judgment of like what people are going to think, that like now this is a big part, and like why are you doing it? Is it just kind of like what's in vogue right now? Like there's so many things that come through my mind in like sharing it, that I'm a pretty open book about a lot of things, but this is definitely something that feels, for whatever reason, the most uncomfortable to share. And I think that in itself is just an interesting thing to recognize, because for a long time, that alone, I think, made it something where I was like, well, I mean, if I want to start going to church, obviously that's something I have to talk to Ariel about. And how do you bring that up? What if it's something that we're not on the same page about? The fear of like that, like I think there was a while where I was just like thinking about it and like felt like it's something that I wanted to do, that I wanted to bring my family to, but I honestly, like, I didn't know how to bring it up to, because Ariel's also Jewish. She grew up Jewish. There was a while where we were like looking for like a local synagogue or temple, because we always were on the same page that like we wanted the community aspect of like a church or a temple or something to be a part of our lives, especially when we had kids. But it was always kind of the understanding, because in Jewish tradition, the kids are going to be raised the religion of the mom. So for us, it was always kind of like the understanding that we're going to raise our kids Jewish, not so much from the religious perspective, but like the traditions and like, celebrating Passover and them having a bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, all of those things. And again, in large part because of this podcast, because early on, man, it just kind of became a theme of like all these guests that we had early on, men that I respect, look up to, like really, really want to model how they approach their kids and parenting. Whenever we would get to like, oh, what's at the basis of like you doing this, this, and that? Like, what has had a huge impact on you? What's something you've changed your mind about? Like, all of those questions we asked always came back to like faith, religion, reading the Bible, so on and so forth. And I think that like if you truly do come to these conversations open-minded to learn from these incredible guests that we have, it got to a point where it's like, all right, there's something to this, right? Like all of like it's not exercise, it's not nutrition, it's not like a diet, it's not a self-help book. Like there's something about this faith thing that like all these guys are like, hey man,
It
it
was all
all
of them
comes down,
too.
all of them.
Like when
Like you
Gabe
can
says all, like it was okay. All is an exaggeration. Most.
all. I can't remember someone early on because even Miranda, right? Like when we had
Yeah.
Miranda, I think she had a really powerful story of like coming from, I think something that a lot of people relate to and something you said too, because I grew up Catholic. We went to church, and thinking back on it now, one thing that really stood out to me, and it's why like one of the things that I've been navigating through this whole journey is like making sure that me and Ariel are on the same page, because I remember that like my mom took us to church, and it was a big deal for her. But my dad, and at the time it was because he like I remember he used to work nights, so he would like sleep during the day, but like he wouldn't go and he kind of had no interest. So it was very much this thing that like it was never like a friction point or anything. It was just like, I don't know, as a kid you also like look up to like your dad, obviously, and like it's not a big deal to him, but it's a big deal to mom. It feels that much more that you're just like, Sunday, you got to put uncomfortable clothes on. You got to like walk in the summer heat. You got to go, you got to stand, you got to sit, you got to sing the songs, you got to read the book. It's like, you're like waiting for it to be over. And that was just kind of like the experience that I had with organized religion and faith. It was just kind of like this thing that you had to do that you never wanted to do. And I never understood like the true reasoning why, or like praying or talking to God or any of that stuff. And honestly, like I've been open to all of that stuff now. I would say 90% because of the conversations that we had on this show with a bunch of those early guests. And then kind of just like you open the door to it and you start like looking into it and you start like doing the thing. I mean, the thing that I brought up in a past episode that was a huge kind of like indicator to me of like, hey, there's something to this, or at least there seems to be something really like just objectively beneficial to this is I've always been, and I've been very vocal about this, like I'm the biggest like Huberman fan, like Peter Attia fan. Like I love those guys, and like studies show that like this will make you like more healthy and whatever. And like one thing that's always been common is that like some sort of like, journaling, mindfulness practice, meditation is an important part of like improving your health. Like there is something to that. And dude, I've bumped my head with everything. I've done meditation apps, I've done breath work, I've tried to do meditation, I've tried to do everything. And just for me, I just always like, I could do like a week and then I'm like, ugh, it fizzles out. And as soon as that started becoming praying, specifically praying out loud and doing it and including my son, like I've never skipped a day. And to me, that was just like a very objective, like, I mean, clearly this works for me. And it's something that I know, whether you want to call it the fact that it's prayer or it's just mindfulness or it's just a gratitude practice. And I think that like the thing that everyone can agree on is that like this doesn't have to be prayer, it doesn't have to be faith, but I think having some sort of daily habit of gratitude, of journaling, of something. I know MDB does Daily Stoic. Like that stuff is like objectively, I think, very powerful. And you find what flavor of that works for you. But for me, it was just a huge indication that like, I feel like I had tried it. Like I even did Daily Stoic, I did Daily Dad. And again, it was just another thing that like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And it's just like, then I skip 2-3 days and I fall off of it. But when it became prayer, and it became prayer like with my son at night, and that has become like now praying in the morning, praying at night, it's become going to church. If anything, it's like built into a bunch of these other practices. So that to me has just been like a very big indicator, and also like a reason for me to want to share that, I guess. But yeah, man, it's been
You're
wild.
right
And I
about
wanted to share it
sharing
on the
it.
show because it happened because of the show.
Well, I think some people would say is like that's like I don't want to use the word. I don't know. I'm sure that there's gonna be someone that's gonna correct me on this, but like that's the devil trying to like Satan like trying to not have you share this positive message is like this opposite side trying to pull you back, right? Because now these things go in your mind like, oh, are people going to think that we're sharing this because it's the cool thing to do? No, you're sharing it because it's on your heart. You're sharing it because it's something that's impacted your life in a positive way and you want to let other people know. It's the same thing. I have those same emotions, Gabe, by the way. Like, oh, if I share the fact that I'm doing this every morning, but I guess like what settled me on that to feel more convinced, I've been doing it for over a year every day. So now I feel like, okay, people aren't going to think this is just a fad because I've been committed. But why does it even matter in the first place that I care that
Right.
other people are going to, you know what I mean? Like it's a weird dichotomy. Yeah.
Well,
Anyways.
thank you guys for for sharing some of your guys' background on this. I honestly I didn't really know that this was something that you guys were pursuing as diligently as you guys have been over the past year. So I grew up in a Roman Catholic family. I mean, very, very early on, Irish Catholic, Irish Italian, my mom and dad. My dad kind of was a lapsed Catholic, but my mom was very deep into the church. And then I was essentially like on a rocket ride to be a pro altar server from the time I could like first get communion and then become an altar server in fourth grade and then serving
I never
funerals
did
and
that.
weddings and a bishop server and all that kind of stuff. I went to Catholic elementary school. I went to an all guys Catholic prep school. And I always found that the ritual of things was really I enjoyed the rituals. I really did. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the idea of these things. I thought it was really interesting that you have these different iconography things that are around, this beautiful artwork, this really amazing gold chalice. All these kinds of things were really interesting to me. I enjoyed it from that perspective a lot. I think one of the things that like I want to just kind of note is that I think that there's a big difference between faith and organized religion. And I think that
100%.
there's a very wide spectrum of all of these things. And I currently don't, I guess if you were to kind of classify it, I currently don't have like a direct relationship to like God or Jesus, but like I don't do that right now. It's not my thing. I am very reflective. I express gratitude. I try to be a good human being every single day. I have my own personal hangups with some of the stuff that I think was shown to me over the years by a lot of people who were bad actors in the name of religion and faith. And I think that kind of stuff for me is a real incredible level of hypocrisy that I have a hard time getting over. And I'm not saying that it applies to everybody. I'm saying that there's certain segments and certain actions that I just don't agree with. And I think at the end of the day, the thing that gets me about this sometimes is like, if you're not being a good human being when it matters, what is the point of all of the other stuff that goes on in the name of affirming these beliefs and affirming your own faith? I'm not saying that you guys at all. I'm just saying that the where I'm at right now with that is like, I would encourage myself and everybody else to like think about your actions and think about how you're treating other people and all these kinds of things. And it's hard for me sometimes to reconcile the fact that like in the name, like you see people a lot of times, I'm not saying that this is everybody, but like if you're going to be a bad person or if you're going to make people feel bad or do shitty things, or like when when nobody's looking, you're a completely different person. Like none of the other stuff really matters to me. And that's kind of like the place that I'm at in my journey with this stuff, is figuring out how do I best live my life to be the most positive person that I can be, not only for myself, but for the people around me. And that's hard. And I think that heaven and hell, it really exists here on earth through your own thoughts and your own actions every single day. I don't know what comes on the other side of death. And for me, I'm thinking about how am I living my life right now? The thing that I know while I have it, I can make people feel good or I can make people feel bad. And I'm trying as much as I can to lean into making people feel good and bring positivity. And that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at with it. And it's complicated. It's a complicated
It's
topic because
it's a very complicated,
So
Paul Gomez
complicated.
was the first one that really sat me down and he really opened my mind. He's like, Jason, He's like, dude, you're seeing it wrong. He's like, you're seeing it wrong, man. Like, and he talked about the idea of like Jesus being who he was. He explained it to me like organized church has done a lot of disservices for a lot of people because they're missing the concepts and the goal and the relationship with God. And that's where I've leaned into is like, I think that all three of us in some ways, and maybe a lot of people listening, got jaded on the traditional church because of you name the reason, right? And I think if you take a step back, and that's why I started on Genesis, and I've been reading through the Old Testament and the New Testament, just trying to get my own understanding. There's some of that stuff that's wild, but some of it, especially the New Testament and the Gospels, can really, I think, let me put it this way. When I wake up in the morning and I pray and I read the Bible, I have a better day.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
I'm a better
Great.
person. And I feel more than anything, MDV, as of lately in my life, I'd say the last year at least, I feel like I've been drawn to it. Like it's almost like an energy system that's pulling me in. And I think for a while I was kind of like being a little bit resistant to it. And now I'm allowing it to come to me more. You know, like the iron sharpens iron example with Sal DiStefano or with Charlie Zamora sending me the Bible with the same thing. Like I feel like I'm being spoken to and I'm just trying to follow that path.
I would encourage you to follow that feeling for sure.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
I would very heavily encourage you to follow that feeling. Just one thing, I think that organized religion obviously has its downsides. Just like any organization or any large group of people, there will be some bad actors in those groups. And I think that organized religion has done a lot of really arguably good things as well for people and given them,
of course,
direction and formed relationships and created marital bonds and a lot of things and celebrations and communion and all these kinds of things are great. I just think that, you know, this is a very, like you guys said to start, this is a very personal topic and there's so many ways to take this and make this your own. And whether or not you call it faith or gratitude or mindfulness or being a good human being or whatever, I know that there's different elements to all those things that make them different. I'm not trying to offend anybody. At the end of the day, the thing that I've tried to come to realize about my own life is that like I want to try to live the best that I can. And if I'm bringing myself into situations with negative energy or bad energy, or I'm making decisions that don't align with who I want to be or my morals or my ethics, I feel worse at the end of the day. I don't feel better when I do those things. I feel objectively worse. And making the decisions and centering myself and expressing gratitude brings me closer to that feeling that you're saying as well. It's like, whatever that thing is, I'm trying to chase that feeling as well.
Gabe, how's it been taking? So are you going to church now with the family?
Yeah, we go every Sunday.
Is it a Christian church though?
Yeah, so we go to a
Dude,
non-denominational.
the music's on point there, bro.
The music's fun, man. The music's fun. And it's funny because like
love some old school Christian and church music, dude. It's good.
Now that
that's all I work out to these days.
But Ariel's gotten into like some worship music. It was funny because she puts it in the car and I still listen to like, you know, some old school stuff. And I'm like, man, like maybe I should start listening to some more. Anyway, but yeah, so we go to a non-denominational Christian church. And it's funny because the other thing that, and I was thinking about this the last couple of days since we knew we were going to talk about this on the podcast. The other thing that I've kind of like been hitting my head up against since we moved out here, it's been a couple of years and I haven't maybe been as intentional about this as I've wanted to till lately, but like finding community and like finding people, you know, like we've talked about this in the past, like, you know, I live on 12 acres. Our neighbors are all like super far away. Our kids aren't like, you know, at an age where they're really doing activities yet. So we're like pretty isolated, I would say. And first thing I tried, and this was before we had any kids, I remember I joined a softball league for the specific reason of like making friends and just like connecting with guys. And like, that was just a complete dud for a lot of reasons. It was like late. Afterwards, they would go to like, you know, they were going to go like smoke or like to a bar. It was just like stuff that I just like wasn't interested in, right? And next thing we tried was we joined this gym. We were coaching there for a while. And again, we weren't doing that for like, you know, necessarily the paycheck or the fact that we like needed, like we literally sought out a gym to go coach at because, you know, we've had some of our best community experiences at a gym. And that was great. And we're still really good friends with a lot of people at the gym. We don't go there anymore just because timing wise, it's so convenient to have the gym here. But like whenever they do like Murph or a fundraiser workout, my parents still go. Like we go to those all the time that are on weekends. We're like a staple at like the big events. And it's great, but it hasn't created what we thought it would, which would be like a weekly kind of like, place where we're meeting people and everyone's kind of like on the same page as us. It was like a much younger crowd, not really a lot of parents. So that ended up not working out. But since joining the church, man, like we've made some like, I mean, like pretty meaningful connections and like people that like seem to be in like a very similar stage of life as us. And like, clearly we have the very, very similar values and we enjoy seeing them, whether it's just we see them every Sunday and we say hi and we talk for a little bit, or, starting to get invites to like, go to a men's Bible study group or like, have lunch after Sundays, like all things that we would have liked from these other things that we tried and just like ended up not working out. But like now, even though it's just been, I don't know, like 3-4 months, but we've been going every week, has
Do they have
like,
an event after the church too, Gabe? So like, is it the like the 40 the hour long, and then do they have like coffee and donuts after?
they have 3 services on Sunday. It's a
Oh,
really
the
big church. They
oh,
have
it's
three
back to
services
yeah.
on Sunday. Yeah, back to back to back. And so there's a lot of that happening naturally kind of in between the services. I mean, it's a big church. And again, the funny part is like part of the reason that we decided to go there because like Miranda spoke about, she went to somewhere where like, a friend was like, hey, come with us, right? We just see this because it's like right by this major road that connects New Braunfels and Seguin. So it's just always there. It has like, it's huge. It has a big like sign and whatever. So we're like, if anything, let's go there because we can like blend in, right? Like no
Yeah.
one's gonna see us. We can just kind of stand in the back. And if like, we go there a couple weekends, ends up not working out, like it's not a big deal. Like we didn't want to go to like a small church where like everyone introduces themselves week one and like now you kind of like feel like you either go or you like fizzled out. So part of the reason we did that, but it's nice because it's really big. They have like a big childcare program. Ariel volunteers as like, one of the moms that like works the childcare now. Like it's been great. And the thing that I've noticed the most is just the uncomfortableness and resistance. Like the first couple times we were there, I felt like a fish out of water. Felt very strange. Felt like everyone was like,
Did you sit in the
"Oh,
last seat in the back?
oh, dude, 100%."
Yeah,
I still sit in the last seat in the back,
dude.
but
Yeah, me
feeling
too.
like everyone's like over analyzing like how into it you are, how not
Yeah,
into it you are. Like, are you singing the songs? Are your hands up? Like, you feel like it's all about you
yeah,
and
but it's
people
not.
like
Yeah,
hyperanalyze you. No, and obviously it's just part of the message, right? Like part of the message and like part of like what I've gotten out of it is that like it's so incredibly not about you, And we still go, we still sit in the back now, mostly because Charlie, our 1.5-year-old, we're not putting her with the kids section yet, and she doesn't exactly sit still for an hour, so sitting in the back seems to be the less disruptive place to be. But no, man, it's been great, and now it's what we do on Sundays, and it's great. Like we go out during nap time with the kids. The kids nap for an hour while me and Ariel have coffee in the car, and it's our like one time a week to like literally just talk and chat. Like we call it our coffee date in the car. Then we get to church. She volunteers. I listen to the service, and yeah, you just feel like it's like the best way that I've found as of late to like bookmark the week. Like the fact that it's on Sunday even just feels so appropriate for like how it like that whole kind of like process makes us feel. And again, like there's a million ways that anyone can find how to have exactly this to end their week, right? Like whether it's going to the ocean and spending some time, like whatever it is, right? Like I'm not here to say that like this is what you should be doing, but I do feel that I hope it has an impact on someone to acknowledge the fact that as someone that like if you were to ask me a year ago if I was going to be taking my family to church every Sunday, I would have said probably not. I wouldn't have said never, but I would be like that seems highly unlikely. And now that it's such a staple in what we do and like what is our value of our family, and we've kind of gotten over all these humps of, like I mentioned before, Ariel was always a little worried that it was going to feel like a big deal, almost like an abandonment to her parents, and like the fact that like she's Jewish and now she's going to like a non-denominational Christian church, and similar to so many things, like it like wasn't a big deal at all. They were like, do you enjoy it? Great, like that sounds awesome. And that's pretty much all it's been. So
dude, I
it's been
love it.
interesting for sure, man.
Well, I like the fact that you're talking about. I think what's really relatable to anybody is connection and community. I kind of I don't want to say I harped on you about it, but I definitely brought it up multiple times to you. Like we had conversations about it
For sure.
because recognizing that you were in an isolated environment and having different interactions is only going to help. And that goes for me, that goes for everybody, right? Like, dude, when you're so siloed, you be in your own echo chamber. And it's really interesting for me to hear how you tried softball, which I didn't realize you had tried softball, and then the gym, and now how this church can be such a great way to foster connection. And for me, you talk about ways to finish your week. Dude, so tomorrow, my son is playing in a travel ball tournament this weekend in Morro Bay, which is about 3 hours away from us. And I basically called the organizers. I called the organizers. I didn't have anything changed, but I was very interested, let's put it that way, in what time his game was at on Saturday. Because if his game was early in the morning, I would have to leave tonight and go stay the night down there. But if his game was later in the day, I would be able to have the men's club still, like I do every single week, and then be able to go drive down. And fortunately, it happened. He has a 12:30 game, and so we're having a 6 a.m. men's club tomorrow, so I could get done in time to take him to his first game in 3 hours away. But for me, dude, it's becoming a stronger and stronger anchor to my week. Like, as much as it's great for all the guys that show up and they get incredible results and blah, 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 it's really important for me too. It's so important that I basically called the organizers like, hey, I mean, they didn't change the game because, I mean, I'm not trying to say that, but like I cared enough that I went out of my way to try and find a way to see if we can get the game later because I wanted to make sure I was there for the guys on Saturday morning. And same thing for you. It's like these weekly things, dude. And that's why I'm excited to bring up, in the future, for the Train Hard, for everybody who's on our programs, like a weekly or bi-weekly gathering where we could look at that. If you can't meet up, like what Gabe's talking about or whatever, that you could have at least a digital anchor every week that like fires you up and keeps you moving forward. Gabe, I got to tell you, man, I appreciate you sharing it. And I know that this isn't easy. Well, I shouldn't say it, like, these conversations, people have strong opinions. And I think that it's important that on this show, dude, we've talked to so many people about their religion. We've talked to so many people about their faith. And you're right, consistently, right? It's guys talking about how their relationship with God has led them in a positive direction. I think that being open-minded, that's important. Or finding your own faith in whatever it might be, is only going to help us be better humans. So thanks for sharing, man. That's awesome. Dude,
Can I ask you guys a difficult question about faith and religion? But before I get to the difficult question, certified bangers from the Catholic Church are Eagle's Wings, Here I Am, Lord, One Bread, One Body, Ave Maria, and there's a few others, but like...
You talking about like the Andre Bocelli Ave Maria?
I'm talking about anytime they sing Ave Maria at church.
Dude,
I loved. That was my favorite part. The music was my favorite part of church by far.
You get an Andre Bocelli singing Ave Maria.
Woo! I don't know. Eagle's Wings is tough to beat. Eagle's Wings is the number one for me.
Wait, I gotta pull up
the Catholic hymnal book. But the tough question I want to ask you guys is, so I have particular set of beliefs about like when people are trying to convince other people to do things like overtly. Like I have a hard time when people come and knock on my door, and I'm going to say it in a strange way, peddling religion. I think that's really hard for me to stomach on days that I'm not trying to be bothered by people. Saturday and Sunday.
Do you ever have anybody knock on your door?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. There's people who come and knock on the door.
Nobody's knocking on Gabe's door at 12.
There's people that ask if they can pray on you when you're walking by the beach and stuff like this. And I understand that they probably have really, hopefully good intentions. But there does seem to sometimes be this like need to like pull people in and indoctrinate them into whatever belief system that person particularly believes in, whether or not that's Christianity, Judaism, Catholicism, whatever, Jehovah's Witness, born again Christian, whatever. That's an element of this that makes me very uncomfortable, is that I like my privacy a lot. And I like the privacy of my thoughts and my own version of faith a lot. And I have a really hard time with the the kind of this pull to compel people to join whatever they believe. And that one is tough for me personally for probably a bunch of reasons. But I wanted to ask you guys, like, how do you guys feel about that? Do you guys feel any like resistance to that, or are you guys feeling compelled to help people find the similar path that you guys have found? Because it's always been for me, it's always been a very personal journey. I really don't like getting into discussions on like people's personal religious beliefs a ton, or people's personal political beliefs a ton. Because I think that sometimes those things, they just are more
But then how do you
so.
have good constructive, like, so for example, we've clearly stated this is a very personal discussion that you could
Mhm,
have. We're just stating what works for us and where we're at on our journey. I
for
think
sure.
like the difference between obviously like knocking on your door, that's a little bit of a different thing. But like if someone were to come up to me and say, "Hey, I'd like to pray for you," I'd be like, "Dude, you know what? In my back of my mind, my assumption is that this person is a good person, and that he wants to try and fuel me with positivity. I will accept that, and I will be grateful for that. Like, I guess the thing is like looking at it
Mm.
through the lens of like these people in their heart, more times than not, they're good people trying to be on a mission, right? There's a
I
lot of
don't I
bad
don't know
people out
I
there.
don't know that. So that's a fact that I can't
Yeah,
generally
but
accept
then
on
you
the
have to,
surface.
yeah, that's why everybody makes their own decisions. But
For
like
sure.
for Gabe and I and this podcast, it's been super helpful for us. And I think that, we'll continue to have more and more conversations. Like I'd love to have Miranda on and talk about her faith journey and how it's impacted her and her family's lives. I also think, man, that like, you know, it's no secret that my family and I have gone through different adversity. And when your back is up against the wall and you're seeking purpose and you're asking questions about the greater meaning of where we're going, I feel like having a deep rooted faith is going to help me along that path. um and that's another reason why I'm continuing to seek and learn and grow. And I think that
Yeah.
the major takeaway on this podcast is like, dude, that's all we're asking people to do is like be open minded and keep seeking. And if you don't want to seek and you don't want to be open minded, go for it. That's your decision, right? I mean, Gabe, I don't know if you have a
Well,
different
I,
take
I
on
mean,
that, but
even in that statement, I think like if you don't want to be open-minded, that's kind of a weird statement in terms of like when you're talking about personal beliefs, because my personal beliefs could be different.
yeah,
And I think that there's obvious benefits to having whatever it is through adversity, whether it's faith or whether it's connection or community or whatever. I like you guys. I've had my own journey through organized religion, my own views on how I saw things go down. I was a part of a church as an altar server that had multiple people get pulled into, I guess, uh, a very bad situation with people who were good, quote unquote, good actors. And that was a very hard thing for me to stomach, that went on through this faith. And I'm not saying that happens everywhere or for everybody, but in terms of reconciling my own belief system, that's something that still holds me up.
I think that for me, it all goes down to something you actually mentioned in the beginning, and Matt Boudreau mentioned this, and he was our first guest on the Jason Khalipa podcast, and I still remember it. And it's the fact that there's religion and faith are two completely different things. And I think that yes, there is something very personal, and I think that a big reason that the podcast had such a big impact on me, I can't think of once actually in my life, and specifically through this podcast, and maybe I've just been super fortunate where someone has pushed their belief system on me. Every guest was a very like, hey, this has been incredible for me. They've answered our questions very openly and honestly. And they were like, hey, if you guys ever have any questions, like, please reach out. It was never like I really think you guys should read the Bible. I really think you guys, and in addition to that, and Jason, I know you've gotten these too. I've gotten numerous emails after those
oh yeah.
podcast emails go out from people. And all of those emails have always been like, hey, love that you guys are exploring this. If you ever have some questions, like book recommendations would be maybe and that's not even like pushy at all, but that would be like the most I've ever gotten as like, hey, this is something you should do. It's just been like, hey, these are some books you should check out and read, some of which I've taken them up on. So I can completely see how if the same guests that we're talking about here were like, hey, this is something you guys should do to be better husbands and fathers, that I would have kind of been taken aback a little bit and been like, all right, hold your horses there, But that just wasn't the experience. And I think that that's a reason that I was so open to it, because it was very just, hey, I think this guy is crushing it. Like I loved conversations with Cole Sager,
Sager. Oh,
Josh,
yeah, Dan Bailey,
Bailey.
Coop from
Coop was a
Broad
big
Gym
one,
Reviews
dude.
was incredible.
People should go back and like if this conversation is like piquing your interest and you at least want to go back and like hear some of those conversations that like honestly had a huge impact on me, I would say Matt Boudreau, Coop, Dan Bailey, and Cole Sager. Cole Sager
Nick
like stands
Freitas,
out as
Nick
a big
Freitas
one.
too.
Nick Freitas too. I think him, we touched upon like some different things, and he was maybe the most stern about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas like these, like what really struck me of the conversations with specifically Cole. I remember Cole. Cole had like a very, that conversation just like made me feel good, and he ended it
He's
with
just a
like,
good dude.
yeah, like you just get vibes from people, and I was like, man, there's something to this. And I remember too what he said about like he had a really good tip about reading Proverbs, and like how so many people read, whether it's the Bible or Proverbs, as like, you're checking off the box. You're like doing a chapter a day, or you're doing certain pages a day. And I'm not saying that there's any right or wrong way, but I really love his recommendation. And his recommendation was, if you're reading and like you just get to a line that like gets you thinking or whatever, just stop right there and like think about it, like reflect on it. Like I that had an impact on me too, in that like not feeling like these are things that you have to like, like training, you have to like, get the certain mileage to get there. That it's so individual, and it's so like you take your own time, you can take your meaning from it. That that's an episode that I would definitely recommend going back and listening to.
Ben Alderman
sure.
now is shifting a little bit more away from his gym, and he's becoming like the main pastor at his church.
He was a
And
pastor when we talked to him. Yeah, he was like an associate pastor. Yeah.
Remember when we talked to him though, he was having like one of his first like sermons, if I'm not mistaken, or like a bigger one. Now he's actually taken like a full-time role there, and he's spreading. He's doing his thing. So I think getting some of those guys back on it. Now that you're like bringing this up, Gabe. Now that I'm like kind of reflecting on the podcast and how it's kind of evolved, I'd like to get more into some of those conversations again. They were very useful. They were very powerful for us, at least for me. And they left me feeling good, man. They left me feeling curious. They left me being open. And Charlie Zamora, again, like there's a lot of people that Rich, back in the day when I was competing with Froning and Dan Bailey, I remember the way that they were with their faith. And I was almost like envious or jealous of it in a sense, because they had such a deep rooted faith and I didn't have it at the time. And now staying in touch with them and trying to learn and grow, like my goal is to one day get to a point where I'm there. I'm not there yet. I'm still building relationships, but like, dude, there was something admirable about that. And I watched the way Dan Bailey has lived his life, and he's in a great expression of like what I think it is to be a great guy. We surround ourselves with a lot of really good people, and I think that starting off the day with this has been incredible for me, man. And yeah, if we come off, I hope no one's ever going to listen to this and be like, oh, these guys we're just trying to share what's helped us. And if it could help somebody else, hell yeah, that's what this podcast is about. Whether it's fitness, whether it's family, we rarely touch base on business. And, we're going to touch base on how we're exploring our faith or not.
Can I ask you guys a question and then tell you a crazy story? So do you guys believe in like kind of a tangent, like, I don't know, ghosts, spirits, like supernatural, like where do you guys fall
You
on
don't until
that
you
stuff?
do.
I'm a huge believer in like energy and karma. And energy and karma have definitely been things that I've come to realize that in my own life, they feel very real to me, for sure. But I don't know if that's the exact thing that you're asking, but yeah, I mean, that's about as woo woo as like I'm getting into. Yeah.
I wasn't, Ashley's really into like the spirits and whatnot. And I'd kind of been like, I'm the older I get, the more life experience I have, the more I just kind of like take a deep breath and just be like, you know what? Maybe I don't know, maybe. But then as I fast forwarded, we were in Africa on this trip, and bro, for sure, something went down. And after that, I'm like, okay, all right, you got me. Because I'm sitting there and there was like this 3-bedroom, like kind of house that we were renting in the middle of like Africa. And Caden and Ava were splitting that room, and they're like, "Hey, look, we're hearing a lot of noises. We're hearing somebody walk in there. We're really uncomfortable. We don't want to be here." I'm like, "Bro, come on!" Like the next night, same exact thing. Like, look, there's somebody in there. I feel very uncomfortable. I'm like, guys, come on. So that I traded the rooms with them, and I'm like, dude, it's all good. So I go and I lay there. I'm in bed, and the door opens, and I'm like, the door opens, like it was already cracked, but it opened more. I'm like, oh, it's probably just the wind, whatever, no big deal. I'm laying there in bed. I kid you not, the shower turns on.
Dude.
I'm like,
Burn the house. Burn the house.
I'm
at
like,
that
there's
moment.
no way. So of course, it's like the middle of the night. I'm like, no way. So I walk over there. The shower turns off, and it's wet on the floor. And I'm like, I feel like that eerie feeling. I'm like, oh, I was like, I just went back in bed. I was like, please leave me alone. Like I'm just, and after that, I was like, all right, I'm on the team. So maybe that answers your question.
That's great. So here's something that happened on Tuesday. I'll keep the story pretty short. And I've been thinking about this a lot because I don't know if it's like, I don't know, the maybe like newly more religious side of me. Like maybe that was a push to like even like say, hey, this is something we should talk about on Friday, or just feeling called to talk about it. But the story's pretty crazy. So I'm washing dishes in our kitchen, and Ariel's at the table, which is like, I don't know, 10 feet away to my right, feeding Charlie. So Charlie's in the high chair.
I
Ariel's
already
feeding
love
her.
this story. I don't
So I'm
even know what
washing
you're
the
gonna say.
dishes. This is in the morning, like post breakfast. And then I honestly would have dismissed this and been like, it was nothing if Ariel wasn't there and saw it happen. So like it happened. So all of a sudden, dude, I swear, and I still like will swear by this because I've thought about it. Ariel was there. I swear that I felt like Shay tickling my back because I started like what I would do. He does that all the time, right? Like he's like bugging you while you're washing the dishes. I started going like, who is that? Who is that? Like kind of playing around with him. And I was like saying it pretty loud. So Ariel looks at me like weird. And then I turn around and Shay's in the living room solving a puzzle. And I'm like,
You
that
got
was
that? Did you
like
get
that
that
was,
like a shivery feeling or whatever it is?
it was like too strange to even like it was like too strange in the moment to even like aside from me asking her like, did you see that? Like like what was that? And it was like we were busy in the rest of the morning, so I was like, I just kind of dismissed it, but it was super strange. And I didn't feel, thinking back on it too, like it wasn't like an eerie thing or whatever. I could just swear. I still swear to thinking back on it that it felt exactly like Shay tickling my back, like up my shirt. And then I turned around and there was nothing there. And then here's the crazy part. So later I'm running, and I have a podcast going. And because I'm running, I'm super sweaty. When the podcast ends, I can't choose what I want to listen to next. And the thing that comes up next is an episode about like angels, ghosts, whatever, just explaining that. And it's a show I subscribe to, so not super weird on its own. So whatever. So that starts playing, and they're talking about how there's like real scientific evidence that this stuff, whatever. So I text Ariel, and I was like, what happened this morning? That was so strange. Like, you saw that, right? And then she tells me that the night before, so I've shared this, I think, on the podcast, but Ariel had a miscarriage like 3 months before we got pregnant with Shay. And, you know, it was super sad, obviously, but I think that like we never even had time to like grieve the loss because she got pregnant so soon after. So we were just like overcome with like the excitement that she got pregnant again. And like my heart goes out to any family out there that's had a similar experience, fertility issues. Like in the research that we did after that, like it's incredible how common it is.
Yeah.
Like miscarriages are like 1 in 4 now. It's insane. And I know that it's something that like a lot of families struggle with. And I can't imagine, because I know how it felt given the fact that it was such a short window, because she got pregnant again. Shay came out super healthy. Like we had, it's nothing compared to what I know some people go through. So my heart absolutely goes out, but that happened to us, right? And she had dreamt about the baby so Monday night, the night before this happened. And here's the crazy part. She was like, we've been telling Shay, starting now, Like, hey, what do you want for your third birthday? Like, what do you want to do? Like, whatever, whatever. If you do the math, that baby would have been 3, like literally to the week of now, like when this happened. So, you know, maybe you look into it and it's all coincidence, right? Like, I think that me like a year ago would have been like, this is all crazy. But I don't know, man. Like, even getting into faith, and I don't even know how this like ties to like faith or religion or like what Christianity teaches. Like, I'm so like non-educated in any of that stuff to like try and make a connection there. But the coincidences were super weird, and dude, I felt what I felt. And I don't know, like, is it the fact that, like, you know, a book that we read after the miscarriage was Spirit Babies, which talks about this idea that like it was very therapeutic for Ariel specifically at the time, because it talks about this idea that, like, you know, you kind of have the kids that you're going to have in life, and there are these like spirits that actually watch over you and they're with you throughout your life, and they pick the moments when they're ready to come. And sometimes miscarriages or things that happen are just the fact that the baby just wasn't ready to come. And it, like, you can see how they can kind of like, you know, make you feel a little bit better about something that, you know, potentially you saw as a loss. Now, whether that's real or not doesn't matter. But, you know, at the time we were like, oh yeah, you know, maybe it's Charlie and she's like just said she didn't want to come first or whatever. But I don't know, man. Like, maybe, you know, it's that baby and he's with us. And I don't know, he was like, hey, don't forget about me. It's my
Yeah,
third
I'm here.
birthday.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a little push to, like, I don't know, share some of this stuff. I don't know, but dude, the story was, it was insane.
The reason why the story doesn't really do it justice, I mean, not, I'm not saying it's not doing it justice. It's just because I can imagine what you felt. I could already feel it, right? And like for you, it's so crazy, right? It's like me, like, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, when Ariel told, when we were talking and she had mentioned that she was thinking about it too, and that he would have been 3 like now, like
Yeah.
early
You probably got the
September to the
shivers,
week,
right?
dude, I bawled, and so
Yeah.
did she. It was, and again, like, I don't know, man, but it's just, it's interesting to share this stuff, and it was pretty insane. But what were you gonna say?
Well, it was like, it's, I mean, not the exact same, but like when I, you know, thought about who I wanted to text about Proverbs 27, 17, and about iron sharpens iron. And I didn't text a bunch of people. And then I happened to text Sal DiStefano, and he was wearing the shirt driving in his car that said iron sharpens iron. Like, it gave me an emotion. I can't describe what that felt like to anybody, but to me, I sat there. It was heavy. It was different. It was unique. And I know that's probably what you're talking about. It's just different. And it makes you wonder, like, dude, it podcasts like this, conversations like this, it always keeps you curious, always keeps you wondering, always keeps you like, I don't know, there's thinking what else is out there, what else is going on. And I think if Ashley was here, she'd say 100% there's spirits, and that's okay, right? It's okay.
And like, the only thing that I would like share is kind of the last thing. I know I've been sharing a lot on this episode is the way that I'm taking it is we all kind of have these gut feelings, because I've had this like just itch to like, hey, I think this would be a good topic for the podcast, especially because like you've been vocal about wanting to share a little bit more of your faith journey, right? So it's kind of been like back in my head, but it's always like, you know, stuff can get weird, like whatever. And this week, just after that, I was like, no, like, let's do it this Friday. And I think that we all have like gut feelings of things that we want to do. And I think that like maybe just leaning into that more, whether it's intuition, whether that's the universe telling you what to do, whether that's God or Jesus telling you what to do. I just think that like we all have gut feelings about stuff, and maybe leaning into that a little bit more is something that I want to do more. So,
Yeah. Well, think about the impact that all the guys had on you through the podcast to open your mind, and like kind of like what they say in marketing, right? 7 touches, whatever it is. We probably had, I don't know, 14, 15 guys talk about it before you became, you know, like 5 in, you became curious, 7 in, you became this. And then each person's going to have their own journey. Like, yours is going to be different from mine. Mine's going to be different from MDV's, and that's okay. But yeah, I think that this is a subject that I want to continue to talk about. And people, if they have a problem with that, that's up to them. But I'm gonna explain it in a way that is the way I'm feeling and what's helped me, and maybe even what's helping our family. Like for us, for example, I haven't brought this as much to the family. That's something that, you know, that's an interesting topic, right? Because like my kids, we will listen to Christian music now, primarily on all of our drives. Ashley has no problems with it. Ashley knows where I'm at with it. Ashley knows all these different things. We just haven't gone to do things together in that realm, right? And it's not anti, it's just these are the steps in our relationship. And I don't know where it's going to go. But I also feel like I don't want to force anything on anybody. I want to just do what I'm doing. And when or if they are ready, they know what I'm exploring. I think that's the way I look at it, is because the last thing I want is to ever make my family or friends or anybody for that matter, even listening to this podcast, feel like I'm telling you what to do. I'm simply going to do me. I'm going to do what makes me feel like I'm reaching my potential and being the best version of myself. And people can come along on that journey or not. And that includes my wife and children. Now, when it comes to music in the car, I'm going to play what I want to listen to because the rap stuff has not been beneficial for my children's ears. So I'm going to try and play music that's uplifting. And in general, that's some country and some Christian. So that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, I love it, Gabe. I feel good after this. Like, I feel good, you know? I feel like I'm going to have a kick-ass day now, you know?
I think that the core tenets of a lot of faith, as opposed to just the core tenets of organized religion, the core tenets of a lot of faith, I agree with a lot of them. I think that being a good human being, I think that treating other people the way that you want to be treated, I think that having empathy and understanding and all of those things, belief in a greater power beyond yourself. I agree with all of those things. I think that the stage of the journey that I'm in and where I'm at with stuff like this is that, like, I wish I saw people exercise those things more, including myself in everyday life. And that's the thing that I am really trying to hold myself to a better standard with, is like, okay, when the rubber hits the road, and I feel flustered, or the barista gets my order wrong, or the dude bumps into me with my shoulder, or somebody cuts me off, or whatever. Like, what am I doing, and how am I acting in those moments, or whatever moments that your character, or your morals, or your ethics are going to be tested? What do I do? What do I say? How do I show up in those moments? And that's not always a frame of mind that I've had. And I think that those core tenets of faith really do compel me to think about these things deeply. But I don't know if I subscribe it to like just one thing, or to Jesus or Christianity or whatever. But those are the real important things to me. That the daily life of creating either a heaven or a hell for myself and the people around me has been a concept that I've really tried to embrace and think deeply about, because I can walk into a room and I can either be a positive, happy, fun-loving person and empathetic person, or I can walk into a room and you can suck the energy right out of the room, and you can be negative, you can be short, you can be mean, not understanding. And those choices are the choices that I'm trying to make to bring me closer to the best version of myself. And I guess if that's faith, that's where I'm at right now with it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I'm probably gonna have to start bumping up my training time earlier. So everything's gonna have to bump up like an hour, because currently, I get up at 5:20, and then I have my coffee and honey. I read the Bible, I go outside, I do all the things that we were talking about, and then I train at 6:30. But nowadays, Caden wants to train before school. And so I'm gonna have to bump that up, because that's such an important part of my day, that I want to make sure that I know that if I start my day off this way, and I've started off this way for a very long time, I know the way it makes me feel. So now that Caden wants to start training, I just got to like bump it up. So that's how important it is to me in my life currently.
Good problem to have, though. That's awesome. Caden's trying to get in there.
Dude, bro, I should send you some of the texts. I was at dinner the other night. Actually, today on this episode today, I know it's going to go up in a couple of days. I know it's live on, so Max, so he's a emergency backup goalie for the San Jose Sharks. Today's his birthday. We were out to dinner, and it's funny because the next day, his son was on the ice twice a week at 6 a.m. before school. And I'm just thinking, like, dude, we were just having this conversation about, if you want to be different, like, you have to do different things. And like nowadays with youth sports, especially at this age of 12-ish, dude, there's kids who are training regularly before school to get in some additional practice, and then after school. It's the same thing that's available at Ava's school. And so Caden, like, he's been inspired, man. He's been hitting primarily we've been doing a lot of like dynamic sprint work, a lot of skipping, a lot of sprint work to get him faster out of the catching position. It's been very rewarding for me. I'm happy to take an hour less sleep so I could go ahead and get in those workouts with him.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Are you doing some of that stuff with like the direction of like catcher specific coach or training, or are you kind of just like you're doing what you know is going to make him faster, more agile, more explosive?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I've watched a lot of hours of catchers, and I think that there's just like some low hanging fruit for Caden. I think it will get to the point in the very near future that I'm gonna have to like, get an expert to come in and help me, of course. But right now, we're just developing like general athleticism from like a athletic perspective. Like, I'm not thinking
Which
about
is probably the way
strength.
to go. 100%.
Oh, for
100%
sure.
the way to
I'm
go.
just trying to make him more jumpy, more dynamic, more agile. So we're doing things like shuttle sprints. We're doing things like getting off the floor, getting back up again. Just sprinting in general. Like one of the drills I'm having him do that he wasn't able to do, is sit on his feet and then pop up from, sitting on his feet and then pop up to a squat position. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, it takes like some awareness and whatever. That's an example. Like, can you dynamically be sitting on your feet and pop up? Or, doing things like being in a catcher's position and shuttle sprinting. So yeah, it's been fun, man. I'm actually, I'm really enjoying it. It's just different. It's more sports specific type training.
At that age, do the catchers call the game for the pitchers, or so the catchers are calling the pitches and the locations for the pitchers at that point?
The way they're doing it in his travel ball league is that the coach is signing to Caden and Caden is signing to the pitcher.
Gotcha.
So sometimes in his little league, he would sign like, but now because this is a little bit more advanced, the coach wants to, the coach knows more than Caden does. And so the coach will sign it to him.
One of the best feelings in the world, sorry, Gabe, one of the best feelings in the world when you're playing Little League Baseball is you get like either a bunt single, you get a little base knock or whatever, and then the coach gives you the green light to run. Oh my goodness. Green light when you were on first or second was like the best feeling in the world, that any pitch that you felt that you got a good jump on, he wanted you to go. Oh man, that was my favorite feeling. Besides the big outfield assist as like a long throw from either center or left to whether it's third or home, the green light to steal the extra base was the best feeling. I loved it.
So I just remembered this, and I'm curious your take. I don't know if you've heard about this, Jay, but the Astros pitcher that purposefully crossed up his catcher. Did you hear about this?
No.
Dude, this is causing major drama for the
I saw that
Astros.
dude spit on the other guy yesterday at the
Dude,
Astros are out of control, bro. They got a bat got pulled from a game yesterday too.
Dude, this is
What's going on in Houston?
The worst example of like sportsmanship, and honestly, it's like super dangerous. So I told Liz maybe she can pull up the video, but essentially what ended up happening was the pitcher Framber Valdez, I forget his first name. The catcher who, and this is important context, he's like the third string catcher. So he's like a minor league call up, like really low on the pitcher block. He tells the pitcher to step off because they weren't on the same page about the pitch that he wanted to throw. So he tells him, step off, step off. The pitcher doesn't step off, throws the pitch, and then the Yankees hit a grand slam. So see if it replays here. And then the next pitch, dude. So he like waves him off. He's like, no, don't throw the pitch. He throws a pitch. The batter hits a grand slam. So obviously it's a big deal. It's Yankees Houston. Dude, on the next pitch, so the pitcher's pissed. He allegedly purposefully crosses up the catcher. So a cross up is when he essentially called for a sinker and he threw him a fastball instead. So the catcher doesn't know what's coming and he gets hit square in the chest. And the reason it seems intentional is because if you get crossed up, the pitcher immediately is like, dude, you all right? Like, my bad. Like, we were not on the same page. He just turns around and doesn't acknowledge it at all. And in the post-game interviews, they both kind of like said the right things. They were like, yeah, we just got crossed up, which doesn't really happen anymore. Like, cross-ups used to happen more when you were putting down manual signs, because then, like, especially if there's a runner on base, like, you have to switch the signs. It's a little confusing. But now all the pitchers have pitch comm. So they're literally getting in their cap, like, fastball inside or whatever.
Right. And the catcher's hearing that. They're all hearing the same thing.
in their native language, by the way,
Exactly.
too.
So in their native language, and so the catcher, who again third string catcher, so like you kind of like you're not like a big deal in the on the team to like make a big fuss out of it. He dealt with it like a complete gentleman. He was like, yeah, it was loud in there. We got crossed up. It wasn't intentional, but there's been a lot of reports now that players were super heated at the pitcher. Like, what are you doing? You're like trying to hurt your own player.
Yeah.
But man, what a crazy example and potentially
Why would you do that?
moment.
Like, I mean, that's just so uncalled for, right? Like,
So immature. Yeah, I mean,
it's just an immaturity thing, right? I mean,
yeah. He was just like, I guess he's blaming the catcher for distracting him before he threw the pitch that got served up for. Like, that's the case for it, right? It's like, what are you doing? Like, I want to throw this pitch. Don't shake me off. Like, don't tell me to step off. Like,
it's
what are you doing?
for the pitch before, which is
The
crazy.
reason that this guy hit a home run was because you distracted me. Like, I'm pissed. You made me look bad. Here, take a fastball to the chest. Incredibly dangerous. Dude, that's a 93 mile per hour fastball. That is
there's so many other
insane.
ways you could handle that, like off the field, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, you know what my favorite part is lately, and I'll kind of close out here in a second, but like one of my favorite things about Little League lately or travel baseball is that every time, this is the funniest, every single time they bring in like the catcher and the pitcher go to talk, or like the team, they all cover their mouths with their glove. And I think it's the funniest thing ever because
So funny.
dude, they make it look like it's a really great example of how ingrained they are, like in the MLB and whatever.
Monkeys
Dude,
do
nobody
monkey
is
do.
sitting
I
there.
love it. No one's reading lips.
Nobody's reading your lips. Nobody, like, it's just
It's part of the game, bro.
dude.
That's so
You know
good.
what? This weekend, I'm gonna
Everybody and their mother's got to come to the mound too for every meeting.
Of course, but I'm gonna take a video and I'm gonna send it to you guys because it's just so funny. The catcher walks up, including Caden. Like I'm like, oh, like, and I tell him like, bro, what do you think is gonna happen? These players are gonna read that you're saying, oh, throw a fastball. Anyways,
That's fantastic.
all right, gentlemen. Well, hey, that's it. That's what we got time for today. Always love these conversations. Appreciate you guys for checking out the podcast. As per usual, make sure to check out the podcast show notes for the Train Hard app. All of our training programs on there to get you fit, to get you capable, to get you jacked, to get you ready. So make sure to check out the podcast show notes and keep training hard.